Lieutenant General retired Abdul Qayyum. Lieutenant General retired Abdul Qayyum is a retired three-star general of Pakistan Army who has been chairman of Pakistan Ordnance Factory Board and Pakistan Steel Mills Board of Directors. Mr. Qayyum was elected as a senator from March 2015 to March 2021. He holds a MSc degree from Quaid-e-Azam University and currently chairs the Committee on Defense Production. He is a war veteran of 1971 Indo-Pak War and has been member of faculty of National Defense College of Pakistan. He is renowned national defense analyst and an author of 5 books.
Rahim. Amna, you've selected a very good topic. And in essence, what you're asking is if Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action is not revived, then is there a danger of unilateral action by the United States of America? And how will that be for the entire world? I think it's a very genuine concern. And this unilateralism has really brought in miseries for the world. Because after the First World War, in which about 17 million people laid their life, and that included about 100,000 Americans also who died. Then it was realized that we should have a United Nations. And you know that even before United Nations, when the Second World War took place, again, many million people died. And United States of America taking a unilateral action, they thought that the Germans will be living in unilateralism and they want to expand their domain. So to counter that, they started developing nuclear weapons, the Americans. And in 1939, they started. And in 1945, July, they did first experiment in Mexico. And thereafter, just in 3 weeks' time, they attacked Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and in Hiroshima, 130,000 people laid their life. And in Nagasaki, 75,000 dead and 74,000 wounded. This was all unilateralism. So therefore, it was decided that United Nations should be raised and there should be an institution. The very fact that there was an idea of United Nations that spoke volumes about the fact that the world believed in multilateralism. And because they thought that that could save the world and there would be peace. Now, this is because of the multilateralism that the United Nations is there. It is because of the multilateralism that you have World Bank, IMF, GATT, and all that. These are the examples of that. But unfortunately, after United Nations came into being, again, and when the Cold War finished, unilateralism again came in. And you saw that, and we all understand that unilateralism is that you don't bother for the international law, you don't bother for the international institutions, and you do what you want to do. And you do with impunity. So that is what United States of America did. They went into Afghanistan and then Iraq and what happened in Syria and Libya and so on. This is all examples of unilateralism. And that they were heading for Iran also. But then I think the good sense prevailed and President Obama had that vision. And they had this joint comprehensive plan of action. In that they curtailed the endeavors being made by Iranians to develop a nuclear bomb. And the Iranians agreed. And in this, it was not United States of America alone. And you know it, that it was P5+1. That meant America, Britain, France, Russia, China, plus one was Germans. And in addition to that was European Union. So they all agreed. And that was multilateralism. But then with one stroke of pen, President Trump really just slashed it off. Now, again, the danger came up because in that the Iranians had agreed that they will cut down their uranium enrichment. They said that their processing of heavy water plants will again be streamlined. And they agreed on many things. Uh, but I think that all, then the Iranians said that, okay, we will do whatever we want to do. And then those sanctions, uh, all sanctions came. With the joint action plan that was decided, in that it was also decided that all nuclear related sanctions against Iran will be lifted, not only by the Americans, but also by the European Union. And that meant that defreezing of tens of billions of dollars from which were frozen in the West. And similarly, the assets, their revenue that they had, the West was supposed to pay to the Iranians, that was confiscated. Now, this is not how you do it. I was reading the UN Charter, and in that, the Article 2 in bracket 1 of the United Nations Charter says that the organization is based on the principles of sovereign equality of all its members. Now, when you are equal and there is a sovereign equality, then every country has its own right. If the Americans have the right to develop a nuclear weapon, and not only develop but also use it against old people and women and children and civil population, what a crime. So other nations at least have to go abide by the United Nations Charter. And similarly, in the Article 51 of the United Nations Charter states that nothing in the present charter shall impair the inherent right of individual or collective self-defense if an armed attack occurs against a member of the United Nations until Security Council takes certain measures which are necessary to maintain peace. That means that in your reaction, now if, for example, the nuclear development is taking place, there are 7 countries today in the world. That includes Russia, China, America, and then is France and Britain. In addition to that is India and Pakistan. But then there is Israel and North Korea also. Now, there is no check on Israel. If they are developing, and this is a covert development, then how can you stop Iranians because they are their declared enemies? So I think you need to bring in justice in the world, and it has to be across the board. You can't have pick and choose. Cherry picking is not allowed. That will never bring peace. And one of the main objectives of the United Nations was for conflict resolution and maintaining international peace. Then there are conventions, Geneva Conventions and all that. On one hand, whether it is Israel or India, they don't accept UN resolutions. But at the same time, India wants a seat in the Security Council. You don't listen to the Security Council. You don't respect their resolutions on Kashmir, and but you want to become the member, and the West supports them. So this is not how the things go. Iranians even allowed the international atomic agency to IAEA to really come and inspect them. And this contract, this has been signed very recently, I think 21st February this year. And we hope and pray the good sense prevails. And we expect from the President of the United States of America, Joe Biden, who is a very visionary person, very wise man, and he believes in peace, and he does not want to victimize other nations. And we expect that the very fact that he said that we'll revisit this, and he said that all other international pacts which were signed in the spirit of the multilateralism, like, for example, climate, Paris Accord on climate, similarly, Trans-Pacific trade the agreement that was done. The American president, ex-president Trump just really ignored all that, and he went for this unilateralism, and that was the worst declaration of that, and that affected everybody because nobody is then safe. So therefore, I, to just sum up, would say that multilateralism we tried to adopt after paying a very heavy price in First World War and Second World War. Let us not repeat those mistakes, and let us live in peace and have that policy of mutual peaceful coexistence. And in that, I think there is a lot responsibility on the superpowers, and especially the leading superpower, which is United States of America. Militarily, they are the strongest in the world, and even economically, so far, they are heading the world. They on their shoulders, there's a great responsibility. We must respect UN Charter. We must respect Geneva Conventions. We must respect UN resolutions, and we must honor the international accords. Because if you don't want to, you only want to pick up things which suit you, and you don't want to do what is not suitable to you. So I think that is the lesson we must carry. And if unilateralism is again adopted by any country, America or any other country, and they take decisions, I think that will bring in disaster in this world, which is already in the grip of a pandemic. And that is, people are really dying. The poverty lines, the people are falling below the poverty line. There is unemployment. Living has become difficult. Poor people have become more poor. Now, under these turmoils, I think we should work for humanity. Spirit of the United Nations Charter is that you should work for socio-economic welfare, for health, for education, for peace, for refugees, for climate, and all that. But if you have your strategic considerations more than the human rights and human values and democratic norms, that won't work. So I'm once again grateful that you were so kind to give me this chance to speak to your audience. And inshallah, see you soon in Islamabad.